But for me, divorce, I think it is more intense because this is not someone who has died at that particular time. Maybe they will die later, but at that particular time you are divorcing them. You see them, you meet them on the street. I'm a pastor, he's a bishop. You're bound to go to meetings and you see them and he's up there saying, praise the Lord, and you're like, my God.
I believe communication in a family setup is key. And in as much as we want to part ways and to go through the divorce process, let us involve our children.
And this thing, like, Nisawa, it is well, you're a strong woman. At some point I'm like, I don't want to be strong, please, I don't want. And that's why you see I'm from a divorce grieving to a mother's grieving, but before pone he, una grieve he. When this happens, you go back to this one. So you start zero divorce grieving, zero mom's grieving. So it's like you are walking with grieving on here and the other one on the other side. So that's when confusion came in. Like, I ataka God amekosa mtu mwingine wa kupea vitu. You understand? Kwani ana watu wengine anaweza pitisha. People now start telling me you're the strongest, ndio unapitishiwa hii. All those kind of things that you would rather not say to people who are grieving.
Shalom, beloved. This is your brother and your friend Erick Mungai bringing to you the Epic Show. This is a place where faith meets purpose and stories of resilience, impact, and transformation come to life. Thank you so much for your support. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, kindly do so. Share, like, comment, help us grow the community by increasing the viewership and also the activities around that zone. This week we have a wonderful guest, someone I have grown to respect, admire, and love. She has been through it all in terms of grief, but when you look at her life, it almost seems as though it is a unique life figured out. She has it all, but today, by the grace of God, she's going to be telling us her story on grief, having gone through divorce, having lost a mom, and having lost a husband. What is the process of grieving? Is it a linear path? What are the coping mechanisms? And the beautiful thing about it is that we have a psychologist on set who will also help us interpret the emotions, the feelings, and help us know that it is okay for you not to feel okay while you're grieving. But before then, it's important for you to know that we are hosted by Njehia Hotel. It is located in Nakuru County, Langa areas. The details are on your screen. They have ample parking. It's a secure environment, serene environment, in-room services. If you really need their services, the details are on your screen. Reach out to them and you'll be glad that you did it. Are you looking for perfect sofas to elevate your home? Look no further. At the Promise Furnitures, we are offering premium quality sofas designed for comfort, durability, and elegance. Whether you need a cozy love seat and a stylish sectional or a luxurious recliner made with preference, we have a perfect fit for your space. So kindly contact the numbers on your screen for more information. You want to relax in style, live in comfort? Promise Furniture is your go-to person. Now, without further ado, help me appreciate and welcome on set Becky Njehia.
Thank you, Erick.
Karibu sana. It's good to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And again, help me appreciate our psychologist, Catherine Ngugi.
Thank you, Erick.
Asante sana. Now, Madam Becky, you look like you have your life figured it out. There's somebody who anasema, my prayer request is to be like Becky, to have her life. Who is Becky Njehia?
Becky Njehia is a born-again lady and a minister of the gospel. A mother of 3 beautiful children, a sister, and a daughter. Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Now, what are the normal activities, normal day for Becky Njehia?
Okay, a normal day for me, I have a son who goes to school. So a normal day for me would be like drop him to school. Then I do online business. Then I go back and do my business. And then at the end of the day, go pick him again, and the cycle repeats itself. But on few chances, I get to go and minister somewhere and an invite. So I go talk to women. I go minister in churches, and I also go to talk to people who have lost. Of late, I've been talking to people who have lost a husband or someone in the family. They call me to talk to them at home level. Yeah, and that's practically my day.
And how are you managing all this, considering that there's a lot in your mind? There's a lot going on. You have lost. You have a series of lost. How are you juggling all this?
Okay, most of the time it might seem to be very easy, but sometimes you psych yourself up. This is a day has come. Today is on a Tuesday. I have a Tuesday. I have to do this and this and this. Sometimes you shelf. There are some days you shelf your pain or whatever you are going through and face the day as it comes. You don't have a pre-planned day like tomorrow I'll behave like this, I'll do like this. No, sometimes you handle it as it comes. When the day comes, you deal with that day at that particular day. You don't plan for tomorrow, or you don't plan today from yesterday. So if you wake up in the morning, you are happy, you flow with the flow. You wake up and you find some engagements, you go do them, then you go back to your normal
routine. And there's a time you can wake up in the morning and you're just moody.
Yeah, there are sometimes you wake up in the morning, you don't want to talk, you don't want to get up, you don't want to drink, you don't want to eat. I think that is part of grieving. You don't want to even pick a call.
Wow.
Like you see someone calling, they have not offended you, but you are like, today, not today. I don't feel like talking. Because I think grief attacks you. It's an attack. You wake up one morning, you're happy. The next day, you're not happy. And people fail to understand why today you are like this, tomorrow you're like, because you don't plan for your day or
your
what
episodes,
will happen.
These
and like
episodes.
It's not like it's an act. Today wacha nifurahi, let me be happy today. Tomorrow let me cry. No, it's not something you can plan. You wake up one morning, you are like, today, yes, I'm so okay. Surprisingly, in the evening, you're like, my God, you're just zero mood. And that is something I've gone through for the last, especially with the grief of my husband. It's something I've gone through in the last 10 months.
Wow.
It's something I've learned to live with it. And my family have also learned to take me as I am today. When she wants to talk, they talk to me. When they call me, I don't want to be. Even my own parents, sometimes they call and I don't want to pick their calls. My sisters, my brothers, and they understand. By now, I think they've understood. This is something that we have to give our time. And unfortunately, it's not something you can put a time limit to, like tell people 2027 I'll be okay, so let's do this. No, you take it a day at a time. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kathy.
Yes.
Are the emotion fluctuations normal?
Yes. Whatever we go through or how we process grief is very normal. And of course different for every one of us. Someone might move on very fast after a loss, and others it will take us a couple of years to really come to acceptance.
What is the determinant of how people move on after grief?
It all depends, number one, with the type of grief that you're going through. We have different types of griefs. Somebody who has watched a loved one go through a terminal illness for a longer period, we call it that this person might have gone through what we call participatory grief. So behind your mind or behind the mind of this person, you've been anticipating that maybe at one point this person will leave us. So emotionally you are prepared, or psychologically you are prepared. So matters of moving fast, it also comes in, and what type of grief are you going through? Yeah. Wow. Becky,
let's start from the beginning. Because there are very many women who are hurting from divorce. Truth be told, our society is quite nasty. I remember, I'm raised by a single mom. She was very humiliated, especially in the church circle. There are some places she was told she cannot even take Holy Communion because she's divorced. How was the process after you lost? And you are a bishop's wife. So you were ministering.
Yeah.
How was that process?
That one was actually the toughest, I can say, in all my griefs. Not to say that the others are less,
of course.
but for me, divorce, I think it is more intense, because this is not someone who has died at that particular time. Maybe they will die later, but at that particular time you are divorcing them, you see them, you meet them on the street. I'm a pastor, he's a bishop. You're bound to go to meetings and you see them, and he's up there saying, praise the Lord, and you're like, my God. But for me, I made up a choice. When I divorced, I left the town.
Okay.
I moved away from the same town. So because I was bound to bump into him at any time. And we also have children involved. So we were bound to meet maybe in school meetings or birthdays. So, and people think most of the time when you are divorcing, like, you're divorcing someone and you detach from them. It's not detaching, because you have actually worked with this person at the back of your mind, like, because you see the children and you remember they have a father somewhere who is not part of you.
And some of them look like their father.
Exactly. And you love them equally. You're like, exactly. Na utakuwa unamwangalia unasema, my God, hey, ex ndio yuko kwa nyumba, hapana. Utapenda tu huyo mtoto equally, because part of you so in that chat. So for me, it was hard being a pastor's wife, because people said, wewe ni mchungaji, ungevumilia, ungekaa, ungemwombea abadilike. We are talking of a bishop.
Yes.
Me, I'm a pastor. Naona hiyo rank yako pale, yeye ndiye anapata kuniombea by the way. But people would judge you because they are not walking in the same shoe you are walking in. So people for me were like, ungevumilia, hizo vitu ni kidogo, maybe angebadilika. But you don't wake up one morning and decide to divorce someone.
No.
You think, for me it was 16 years of marriage. So I didn't wake up one morning and decide like
16.
Ati nimechoka na kuolewa. No. There are some things you consider. There are some calculations you make in your head, and actually you start preparing yourself psychologically. Nikitoka niko na enough shield ya kupigana na maneno zile watu watanirushia,
because words are many.
Yes, people divorce and you see someone get sick, some of them they even die because umerudishwa to a place whereby ulikuwa hapa. Sasa jina yako tena si bibi ya mtu, ni ule mama mwenye aliachana na bwanake.
And even the members no longer call you mom, they no longer respect you.
My God, hata kubebewa kibeti utajibebea mse. Hakuna hizo maheshima ulikuwa unapewangwa. Unafika mahali like you are just a normal person now. Because now maybe you are being respected because of him. Now the him is not there.
Oh dear.
You are alone. What do you do? So for me, I had to move away. Come back to my parents' house. And something funny, people used to ask me, kwa nini unataka kwenda kuishi na baba yako na you are a grown up? But for me, that was my support system. I was safe with my parents. I was safe at home. And actually, people don't judge you more. Ukikaa peke yako wanaanza kusema huyo ni mama hana bwana, anakaa peke yake. But when you are home, they're like, at least anakaa na wazazi wake. You get to hear a lot of theories outside here. So for me, and it didn't come immediately, the divorce process was a very bad, hectic one, on and off in court. He's not coming, he's not appearing for the mention of the case, and you are there every day because you are the one who wants to be away from whatever is happening. So sometimes you go and then he's like absent, you have to again to go and get another date, you go back. But finally when the divorce goes through, now that's where now the grief starts.
Oh really? You
are like thinking to yourself,
but you are fighting for it.
Kidogo. You know, you don't prepare for what is going to attack you.
Wow.
Unasema ama ningevumilia. By the way, nilikuwa na mtu ananilipia school fees, nilikuwa na mtu ananituma holidays to UK, nilikuwa na mtu ananifanyia hizi. Now it's you and your children.
So reality sinks in when the papers are signed.
You have the papers and you see them in the house and you're like, okay.
Wow.
So you tell yourself, now it's me and my children, let's do this. And actually with the support of family, people who talk to you, people who pray for you, like my father is a minister of the gospel, he's an archbishop, so he would pray for me. At one time I think I was crying and then my dad told my mom, simwambie arudi kwa mzee yake. Kwa nini analia na amepata divorce? But that is the time now emotions are starting. You've invested in this marriage.
16 years is not as
you've
easy.
Invested so much, and people actually think investment is about money. Emotionally, investment is the most expensive one. Huu ni mseme kutana hana chochote. Mmepata hizi vitu pamoja. Huu ni mseme.
So by the time you guys were meeting, he was not a bishop.
No, actually, it's a funny story because he was an evangelist in my father's church.
Oh,
my dad used to go with him on missions. Like wanaenda kuhubiri, anaenda na
So he was being mentored by your dad.
Exactly. And at some point he was like part of our family, because unajua kwa bishop na kwa pastor watu kuja wanakaa huko, mnafikiria ni brothers zenyu, sisters zenyu. So we got to go to the same Bible school in Bungoma.
Wow.
We schooled in the same Bible school, and then nikagongwa na mapenzi Then we shifted from brother and sister now to
baby.
And we did, yes. And we even did a church wedding, which was very colorful.
Were there red signs when you guys were dating?
Yes, they were. But
but you ignored. Mapenzi ilikuwa too much.
I used to say, wananiambia hivyo, ni nini wanajua.
But the red flags were there.
Yeah, at some point one of my resident pastor in my father's church was like, you should reconsider. But I was like, we wacha, we ujui mapenzi ni kusema nini, we ni old school kwanza, hii ni mapenzi ya kisasa. So, and there's some things that happened when we were courting that were very loud, but for some reason ni kama umefungwa masikio, unajiambia sintambadilisha.
With time.
Yeah, with time atabadilika. With time nitamuonyesha mapenzi mpaka atasahau. But you come to realize that sometimes it's good to listen to people, and those red flags, take note of them, because at some point whatever was being said is whatever came to pass.
Oh really? So it was,
so
it was
I
a
should
pointer.
have, yes, I should have listened to people.
You should have listened.
But again, in my life I've learned one thing: I don't want to be in a place where I regret. You might get away from someone, a marriage or whatever, but don't come to a place you regret, because actually I came out with very beautiful children. Ningetoa wapi? And again, another thing, there are some things I learned that I wouldn't want them to reoccur if I was to ever to remarry again. So it's like a school.
Yeah.
It's like,
so they are valuable lessons.
Yes.
How are you juggling between, now you see you're fighting for a divorce to get out of this thing, but then there are children involved.
Yes.
How affected were they? And they were adults but these are 16, these are teenagers, some of them.
But by the time I was leaving, my firstborn was in Form 2. And at one point it affected her. We didn't know. She's a quiet one, so she keeps quiet and she says, "Ni sawa tu mom." But one time she was like, mom, hapana. Nikiwa shuleni nahofia. I am afraid of maybe nitakuja nipate huko ama hauko, you see. And at some point she even became sick and lost her memory for a whole month.
No, wait a minute.
Yes.
Kathy, what is that? What is happening to her psychological state?
You see, in a marriage setup, in as much as we want to go through the divorce process, in most cases we are so selfish, the husband and the wife, because we want our way. And again, we forget that there are children involved. So this young girl being a teenager and understanding everything that is happening, sometimes they carry the home environment to school. So that's why you'll hear a kid saying that, I'm not able to concentrate because I'm thinking, what if I go home and I find my mom is not there? And especially children coming from toxic families where there is violence and fights all over. This child will carry their home environment back to school. That's why you find there's a dropping in performance, there's poor concentration, because whatever is running in the mind of this kid is that what is happening at home. And to make it worse, if this child is in a boarding school, so every time the mind is home. So when there is some sort of toxicity between the parents, then this child will always reflect what is happening back. And that's why she'll say, what if I come back and I find you're not there? Yeah. So in as much as we are in a marriage and we want to part ways, let us also consider that children are also involved. And sometimes you see now, sometimes we become selfish out of love, ignoring the red flags and assuming that with time this person will change. But 16 years down the line and you had seen these things, then these are the mistakes that you pay forever in life.
Wow.
Because this is something you cannot come and change or erase within that day. So we bear the brunt of the pain, and again we pass these pains to our children.
Wow.
And so we are all involved. So in as much as that you are outside there and you feel that I want to end this marriage, consider the issues of your children.
Now, even if you're considering, what do we do to the children? For example, this is Becky, this is the ex, this is the what could she have done to make sure that the children are somehow cautioned?
I believe communication in a family setup is key. And in as much as you want to part ways and to go through the divorce process, let us involve our children. You see, nowadays we say there's no younger child. As early as 7 years, they're trying to understand and to grasp everything that is happening around. So in as much as we want to part ways, let us involve our children that yes, we've been to this together, but now it is coming a time whereby mommy has to go with you and daddy will be coming to see us because it is not working. Yeah.
Okay. So Becky, you didn't even get enough time for yourself to grieve that entire process, because here is a dad telling you can go back to the guy if you want, but again here are children, these are responsibilities. You have to have your life figured out.
Yeah, and since they are still young, because the firstborn was 16 by that time, then there was the secondborn, and the thirdborn was a bit young, so he didn't even understand. So they would reason, sometimes they would joke like, why would you want to go back? If mom didn't want to stay there, we don't want to go back. But now here there's a provision that has been given by the court, whereby you have to give him to see his children.
He has access.
He has access to his children. He brings them he picks them at 6, brings them back at 6. Sometimes it doesn't happen, the disappointment with the kids. So you just have to manage and find your way through. And that's why I say in life, there's nobody who has a manuscript of what you need to do when things happen to you. So you learn for yourself sometimes and you get support. But for me, like now, my parents embraced my children. Actually, they became like their children.
Okay.
So I'm their child and this is their children. So they raised us and encouraged us all together as their children.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and
That's amazing.
thankfully they overcame. As they grew older, they were able to make their own decision whether to visit their father or not, and nothing dictated from me. And my parents would also encourage me to let them see their father if they want to see him.
Wow.
But it reached a place whereby sometimes you tell them to go and they're like, no,
we're not going.
Yeah.
So they have seen it for themselves.
So you also give them a platform for them to decide for themselves.
Right.
But it was a very, very emotionally draining process, because now you have to start everything back from zero. And something funny, you're not the same person. You are starting afresh with some baggage and some responsibility. So, but I managed to bring myself up back again and start my life afresh and move on and school my children. Actually, the firstborn, after she had that episode, we thought ataperform vibaya shule, but surprisingly she went to school of she was studying cabin crew, and for some time she did some internship with Turkish airline, and now she works for a company which is very, very good. And the others are also schooling, and God has really helped them.
Amazing. Kathy, how important is a support system when you're going through a grieving process?
I would say that the support we get when we are going through the grieving process, this is after the loss. It's very key, because you find that lack of support sometimes will drain us to a point of being depressed. If Becky would have left her marriage and maybe went to be on her own and lacking the support that she got, maybe we could be having a different Becky today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You find somebody has moved out of her marriage and then you go start from scratch, no support. This is where, because grief will always be it will always be a process, and one of the process of grief is depression. before we come to acceptance.
Oh, there's depression.
There's depression. And you want to skip all this process, all these stages. So the stage of depression will come in when there's no support system. Or there's no support altogether.
Wow.
As you find somebody after you hear somebody left the marriage and then anakaga tu peke yake, you know, everybody becomes an enemy.
They lock everybody out.
They lock everybody out. So if we lack support, and especially from the family, it becomes another story altogether.
Wow. Wow. That's an important lesson.
Yeah.
Let's fast forward to our mom.
Yeah, so let me say something before we move on. Actually, what she said, sometimes you want to be alone. I went through that a small period. Sometimes I would want to be alone. Sometimes you even don't want to attend weddings.
Oh, they are reminding you, they are
my
triggers.
God, wataachana tu ni nini? I was there na tuliachana. So you are like, why would I go to a wedding? I was there once and now I'm not even there. So unakuwa na hiyo period ya withdraw. You withdraw from, because you think nikienda wedding people would see like, hey, huyu amekuja na aliacha bwanake. You know, kuna ako kapart ka mtu ku withdraw and you feel like you don't want to be with people outside there. And anything that reminds you of marriage, you don't want. You see people holding hands and you're like, my God, what are they doing? Tulishikana miaka 16 tuliachana. Sasa what are you doing? So and actually you don't do it when unajua you can even make some very funny statements and it's something that you're not even thinking about. So there's that period of withdrawal. You want to be alone, you don't want to associate na watu married, you are like, they announce couple meetings in the church and you're like, hey, where couples, but you've been there sometimes, and when you are a couple you are enjoying at some point. It's not at when you divorce somebody au kukuwa na
happy moments,
kukuwa na very good and happy moments, but it didn't work out.
It just didn't work out.
So you accept and move on.
How did it affect your ministry, considering now you are a woman of God? There are some people who cannot agree with your now new title, divorcee. Hawazi kusikiza ni kama anointing ilisha. How was that?
There's some few of them would say like, tusimwalike kwa chachi yetu, atakuja kuambia wa mama waachane na bwana. You know, and you're like nobody even told you to leave. Wewe mwenyewe ndio it's a personal decision. You did it on your own. And uko unajua kile kinafanya utoke. So it affected kidogo sana, but now for me it's sio sana cause nili withdraw from ministry. So I became nikaka chini ya ministry ya babangu, so I could go to his branches before I joined the church I was in. And still hata huko kwenye unaenda watu wako zile people, you now become tagged. Ule mama mwenye aliachananga na bwanake, like all of a sudden the pastor goes for ule pastor aliachananga na bwanake. And something funny at that point, that's where you even see people they start now, they see you talking with their husbands and they're like, we
utaninyang'anya
ashinde kukaa na wake akuja ongea na wetu. Like you are now tagged single woman, you know, when ni mama single mother, and people fear you for no reason.
So you're already a threat now.
Yes, and me, I went to one church. I stayed for I think 6 months because the pastor's wife could not even. Alikuwa anasemanga huyu atapita na pastor, because like now you when you are divorced you don't change from your dressing, you don't change from the way you love yourself. So and if ukipata ule bibi ya pastor mwenye hayuko confident, atafikiri wewe umekuja kukua threat kwa church yao. So I stayed in that church to an extent like she could even send people to ebu ndo muulize ka hizo nguo ni za taki, ebu you know those petty things. And I was like, I was a pastor's wife at one point, so I know all these things. So you get to a point by watu wanakuogopa sasa kwa sababu umetoa ile title, umekuwa a divorced woman. But with time you meet some of them and they've joined you in the divorced club, so you're looking at them like but since you are different for them, you judge them because you know the process is painful. So you accommodate some of them and you even love on them. Okay. So yeah,
there's something you said about participatory or anticipatory grief. I want to join that link that with the death of your mom. Was she sick for a while?
No, Actually, my mom wasn't sick at all.
Really?
Yes, they had gone to preach with my dad in I think they were opening a church,
a different branch,
being a pastor in Nairobi. So they had traveled on a Friday. They had a conference in Njehia. My mom was left behind because she had an injury kwa mkono, so she was looking for something to put in her hands.
That was the only thing?
Yes, so she was to join my father in Njehia, which she did. They went and then they traveled to Nairobi. They went, did the event, and then they were coming back home. That's when they had an accident.
Oh, it was an accident?
Yes, and there were the only two of them in the car. So my mom alikuwa haja buckle up kushipi. So she was, wakati waligongana impact, akarushwa, akahit somewhere, a lot of complications, and she was in hospital for around 4 days, and then she passed away. So this is someone that said bye to me in the morning on a Friday, tuonane Sunday. And this is someone I talked to when they left Nairobi, mpike tunakuja.
Wow.
Only for you to be called after, in fact I was in church. And I was called uko na jirani, nikamwambia nimetoka church. I was thinking of going to visit a friend. Akaniambia no, come home. I was like, what has happened? No, you just come. So I go, and they're like, your parents have been involved in an accident, but they are doing fine.
They were with your dad?
Yes.
Okay.
And they were like, they were doing fine. We traveled the same day, that same evening to Nairobi. That's when we found her. She had some internal injuries, very bad one. So she died after 4 days. So this is something you had not thought about. You were not prepared.
No, not at all.
You had not even thought about it. You know, the way you like never think it can happen in your house. Actually, my mom's death was the first major death
in your household,
in our entire family.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a very, very big shock for all of us and the ministry. Yeah.
So what is going on in your mind at this time? You've lost your mom. Are you still in denial? What exactly is in your mind?
Yeah,
right
so my mom passes away. Actually, when they were in hospital, I called my pastor and pastor's wife and tell her, my mom, she's going to be fine. Let's pray. I believe, because that's what I've been brought up to believe. All will be fine. We pray. People come from all over. Actually, in Kenyatta Private Wing, they always say they've never experienced such a mass of people who came to see her. They were like, who is Mary? They were even wondering, who is this woman? Because people came from Lodwar, from Yala, to see her. So we all believed she's going to pull through. Then me, I was told to come back home, and sababu mimi ndio nilikuwa nakaa home, all of us had gone, so I come back because of the children. So I come back on a Thursday. When I went to see her, I was like, that ka feeling.
Was she talking? No.
She was.
She was talking?
She was.
So you communicated?
She was talking, and then she was like, wenda ukaniangalilie kuku na uangalie Prince, who is my son. And then I came on a Thursday. But when I'm coming, I'm crying kwa matatu. And I was like, why am I even crying and she's alive? So I cried until I reached home. So on Friday, she was to go for a surgery. She had a hip dislocation, so they needed to screw it up. So Friday I had that bad feeling, like, but praying and saying, shindo shetani, wacha kuniongelesha, mamangu atakufa. You don't accept. So on Saturday morning, I was to go to preach in a meeting, a ladies meeting. I wake up in the morning, I try this dress, and they're all my dresses, nothing borrowed. I was like, blue doesn't look good, let me do red. Red is not, let me do long, let me do short. That's morning, 6 in the morning. I had that bad feeling. And then I go upstairs to their room, take their blanket, came and slept with it on the chair. And I'm thinking like, what is this drama now? So that's when my brother-in-law came. And then I saw him. He had carried a paper bag. And I was like, in my head I was like, asika metuletea maziwa na mkate ya matanga. Na sasa sijambua anything. That's my head telling me. Like, asika amekuja na maziwa na mkate ya matanga, you know. And then we sit, and then it's like, mama need operation, she's okay, nini. They need you and your aunt, now my mother's sister, to go to Nairobi to see her. I was like, kama alienda na kaoperatiwa, where am I going? So I sit there, home kwetu kuna swing outside. I sit on the swing and I start crying. And then it's like, sasa nani amemwambia? Na walikuwa wamesema tusimwambie. Nikamwambia, so she's dead. And then he didn't even know what to tell me. So from that time now, I was standing there and sitting there thinking, how? This is my mother who is born again, a bishop's wife. Ametoka kuhubiri. Amepata accident. God tumeomba. Do you know we prayed mpaka tunafukuzwa? And here are friends you have. They go have party, drink, get in an accident.
They get healed.
Broken neck, broken legs. And then after 2 months wanarudi kuchapa sherehe. But why couldn't you heal my mom? So that's where my pain began. I was like, wait. I could come to church actually. Nasikia tuinue mkono, Mungu ni mzuri. I'm like, huyu anasema ni mzuri juu yeye mamake ako hai. So I couldn't relate with someone whose mother was. Actually, there's a friend I told one time, from today don't talk to me until you lose your mother. That's when we'll talk the same language. Ndio alikuwa ananiambia jikaze, wewe ni pastor, wewe ni mtoto wa pastor, mama yako ameenda mbinguni, and I'm like,
you tell her what?
Nikamwambia wewe enda, tusikule mama yako atakufa. Then come, we'll be friends. She's a friend of mine in Australia. She reminds me most of the time. I told her, go, wait for your mother to die, then come, because her language and my language. And then you coming to spiritualize my mom's dead, like ameenda binguni. By the atako binguni, kwani unasikia vibaya? That's what people used to tell me. And this thing, like, ni sawa, it is well, you are a strong woman. At some point I'm like, I don't want to be strong. Please, I don't want.
Tusikosoe Mungu.
Yes, tusikosoe Mungu. Everything works together for good, and I'm there. Which good is this one here? So sometimes the grieving, inaanzanga hiyo time umeambiwa mtu amekufa. It's not like, unajua watu wanafikirianga tukishazika mtu ndio. But the emotions begin that exact moment. Your mom is dead. Your world turns upside down.
Instead of coming home, she's going to a mortuary.
Yes.
Another like a fridge.
Exactly.
Those things don't really make sense. What is the worst thing to tell somebody who is grieving, Kathy? Because umesikia kuna best yake. Umesikia kuna mwaelewa kufisha mamake kwanza, and then what's the worst thing to tell somebody who is grieving? Because sometimes we say these things and we don't know.
We don't know. So sometimes we do a big mistake, especially with the Christians. Because telling a person that your mother is in heaven, you don't need her in heaven.
Exactly.
You need her here. Exactly. And somebody telling you that God will give you the best husband after you lose your husband. Where is that best husband? Why is he not here now? So sometimes we tell people things and we do more harm than any good.
Wow.
And especially when we tell them that, especially, I like the way she's putting it, you spiritualize everything. And you know, when you talk about the process of grief, stage number 1 is denial. We are all in denial.
So she was in denial at some point.
At some point. Yes. So you deny it can't happen. I have just talked to this person in the morning. Like, now that death that happens, that you leave somebody in the morning, tell her goodbye, see you in the evening. And then you hear somebody has just gotten an accident and he's normal. So the first stage is we deny. No, it can't happen. We've just talked. Tumekuwa na kitu tu hapa saizi. It can't happen. So we all deny. And the other emotion is anger. You know, like not telling your friend go until you lose your mother and come back.
That's anger.
That's anger, which is very normal. And not unless
so you can be angry at God,
yes,
and people at the same time.
Exactly.
Okay.
Grief is something that I like the way Betty is putting it. That you can be happy and it's just staring at you at some point, and it's just looking for the opportune time to strike you. So anger is another emotion that we go through when you're grieving, and we are just angry over everything and anything. Yeah? Why would it happen? You know, and you start now asking yourself.
Now you hear those questions. She was preaching. She's a bishop's wife. We have prayed. Why did you take her?
And again, we become angry towards God because people are coming to tell us God knows.
Wow.
How unjust is this God who knows that my husband will die? Who knows that my mom will get an accident and die? And not even telling us in advance to prepare. Yeah? And from there we go now to bargaining. Yes, we bargain through.
So we've started from where? We've started from denial. Then we are angry. Akufisha mamake, and then then now we are bargaining.
We start to bargain now. I wish I took care of this person. I wish I acted very fast. A few months ago, I lost a client from our rehab, and I was taking him to the hospital. So we didn't get the hospital. So he died along the way. And as a therapist and somebody who has done psychology, I couldn't imagine that and go through the same and experience practical what I tell people. This is what we go through.
Wow.
Because after we buried the patient, and it was like 3-4 days. One evening I started crying, tears from nowhere. And again going to my bedroom and locking myself, and now I start now to bargain. I wish I didn't drive all the way to the rehab. I wish I sent somebody to pick the...
Because you saw it. It happened in the car?
In my car. Wow. So I'm bargaining at what if I did something different? What if I called a neighbor and told him, just pick that patient, we meet in the hospital? So, and all these stages you go through them. So Becky can be here, and at one point she has bargained. I wish I accompanied my mom to the preaching program. I wish I traveled that particular day when I had she. I wish I stayed in the hospital.
I wish I never came
time
back on Thursday. I wish I stayed there.
So we all bargain. And after bargaining, we now go into depression, because sometimes you see as if you failed. So not unless you allow all these stages to go through, and after you bargain, you become depressed, and finally now we accept that yes, this happened. And acceptance will not happen instant. Some of us will grieve for only a few months and then we're okay. Others will take years and years.
And are these stages linear in that, you know, there's a time unasikia Becky is doing amazingly well. All of a sudden she's crying, she's moody, she doesn't want to pick the phone. So it's like she's just vacillating. Is that normal?
Very normal. Very normal.
Okay.
And very different for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, so whatever she's going through, we say that grieving is an issue of emotions.
Okay.
And we cannot bottle these emotions. The more we bottle them, the more it becomes a problem. You hear somebody who lost somebody and then they became sick. It's because they failed to express these emotions.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
So even when you hear people tell people in a funeral, don't cry, that's very wrong. This is the best time and the opportune time to express our emotions.
Na kama ni mwanaume anaambiwa wanaume atuliange.
Sasa hiyo wanaume nao ndio wako na shida ile kubwa, because sometimes you're taught to man up and not to cry.
Yes.
And in most cases we just bottle emotions. Look at the problems of depression in our country today, and whatever is happening concerning mental issues. Men are the most affected.
Men are the most affected.
Because of what? Bottling of emotions.
Oh, we are not expressing them.
Not expressing them.
Okay.
Whatever we are doing to Betty now is so therapeutic.
Yeah.
She's just healing as she speaks.
Wow.
So a different Becky on Friday, if you meet her.
Wow.
Because whatever we are doing now is part of her healing. The more she's talking and the more she's expressing the ups and downs, she's just healing.
Wow.
But for a man, we are taught to man up.
We man up, we zip up.
And we don't share
emotions. Now Betty, we're back to the matanga. Because now the brother-in-law has taken you to Nairobi.
No, he's now come and told us we need to go, so we didn't go. So the next minute I see my neighbor coming crying, she's screaming everywhere, and then within few minutes or an hour, our household is full of people, pastors from Nakuru. They come, they pray, and you are there like you are not even you are not crying at that time, because you are like shocked. Kwa nini watu wako kwetu?
Wow.
Someone says, wapatie glucose, wape maji, sijui nini, loosen their clothing, put them on and I'm like, where?
Why are they doing all this?
Now, since at kama ume bottle up emotions, so they need to loosen your clothing, maybe you una.
Is that true? It sounds like a myth.
I know, and it's like drama. All of a sudden, mpaka watu wanaingia kwenye wenye hata walikuwa waingiangi, you're like, now our house is no longer our house.
There's no privacy. Now there's no privacy.
Within minutes, people come. Kuna wengine wanakuja with ideas, toeni picha za mama yao, wataziona wasikie, and she's just died that same day, and you're like, wait. You know, you are like, are we talking about someone who was here the other day? Now we are talking of someone alikuwa. Your mom become past tense from that moment. So the grieving process, the mourning process here, matanga, it take time, because my brother and my two brothers were in Australia, so we needed to have them come for the funeral. So unaona tuka like 2 weeks ya matanga,
more opportunity
for them to travel and get passports for the children, because they were born there, so they have never traveled. So for us, na hiyo time you don't feel inaenda hiyo pain ikishanga as more as people are coming, unaona ni kama mko meeting maybe conference. Pastor huyu anaingia, pastor huyu anatoka, huyu mama anakuja anaomba, huyu people come with yogurt, watu wanawaletea vitu and you're like wow. For some moments you forget about death. And you're now talking like normal people, mnacheka huko until you have that one dramatic aunt that enters the compound crying. You are like, wait,
why is she crying?
Kuna then you're like, oh, kuna matanga. So that whole 14 days for us, it was up and down. Today we are fine. When someone comes to, well, now the saddest part was when my brothers came, and now and the wife and the children. Now we have to tell them the story. What happened, nini. So but there was a lady in our house who was against us retelling the story. Every time mgeni akikuja, mama alifanya nini, you know, and you're like, alienda, you begin the whole process again, and then you go back to death. She dies. Even if it's after 7 days, she dies again that particular time, because you are telling the story. So that lady would say, no. Ask another person. Don't ask the children. Don't ask
and that's where we go wrong.
Yes,
because everybody now becomes a therapist.
Yes,
and you want to show people how we know. Like now, okay, the issue of being told that to lie down and you loosen your clothes. Sometimes we feel the pain from our chest.
Okay,
and it doesn't necessarily have to be that you have to loosen your clothes and you know all these exposure and everything. And the people coming and saying that remove the photos from the wall. She remains to be the mother, whether gone or still there.
Yes.
And now the other problem is when now everybody becomes now a doctor. Like now the issue of narrating what happens. For me, it is like a way of debriefing, you know. The more you talk about it, the more it speeds up your healing. But when somebody comes and tells you now, stop narrating what happened, you don't heal. Yeah. Okay. You don't heal. So the more you talk about it, the more inakutoka.
All right.
Yeah.
So this thing, telling me what happened. So you're telling like 100 people.
Yes.
During that time, it's a healing process.
It's a healing process.
Wow.
It speeds our healing because we are now connecting with the moments, and now you know, the more you give what happened, you are just visualizing. You know, she was good. She went. This is what happened, and now this is what has happened. So even the issue of death, it just registers in your mind. Yes. There was death. Yeah,
because she's saying at the end of it all, it is at death. She has died.
Yeah, she has died.
So indirectly, anafika kwa acceptance.
Acceptance.
Wow. So the brothers have come.
Yeah. So my dad's friends came, who loved my mother so much. They flew in, and it was at that moment. You were like, how is it travel all the way kama hakuna kitu imefanyika?
So all this time bado you were in denial.
Like, something has happened. Wow. Ukiona hawa wamekuja huku, the kind of people who don't travel easily, like uko kwao ni watu wakubwa, so wameacha vitu zao wamekuja, something has happened. So that week my brother comes, now we start now tutavaa nini? Atazikwa wapi? You know, now that those things start now becoming reality. Anazikwa wapi? You are like, at one point, nani? You know, your acceptance, I think, is the key. When you accept, it begins the healing process. But when you're in denial, because I remember matanga ikakuja, watu wakakuja, and everything was okay until one time, siku ya mazishi. We are going to the mortuary to view and everything. We viewed, we did a service, and then we were going home. And then at one point they remembered atujabeba bana. Ile bana kubwa, yes. So they're like, you Becky, go home, ufungue ofisi ya dad, ulete bana. So me, I go. I'm with my sister-in-law and and someone else, because we were all assigned somebody for security purposes. So he's outside waiting. My sister-in-law is outside. Akakuja, acha nikaangalie Becky kwa nini hatoki. You know, I had forgotten. Like, at the back of my mind, I wanted so much to believe hakuna mazishi. I slept kwa kiti.
In the office?
No, sitting room. Sasa nimechukua, nimeenda nikatafuta bana sioni.
Okay.
Nikasema hata sijui ni nini nilikuwa natafuta. So I slept kwa kiti until my sister-in-law was like, wait, what is she doing in the house? So she comes and calls me, akaniambia twende, namza wapi? And then you know you have the uniforms with the maua. Mchindo nini hizi? What's up?
No, like really genuinely.
Yes.
Wow.
I wanted, unajua kuna ile part of your brain that wants to deny and think the good things. Like hakuna mazishi, hizi kwa ni mamangu tunazika. So we like go, and they were like, we wondered where you people went. And then I was telling them story, wanafikiria ni story, wanacheka. But at that particular moment, that's when it dawns on you. Now today, ndio tunaachana. Because when people are in the mortuary, you kind of feel they are still with you. Si ako tu hapa Umash, tuko tu na yeye bado. You think at some point ata anaweza amka. You think at some point maybe you picked the wrong body and forgot your mother there. Maybe she will just appear and say surprise. So umekaa kwa hiyo mazishi now, unaanza kufikiria hizo vitu zote. Unaona casket pale, unaona picha yake hapo. That's when it hits you. Now she's gone. Then comes to the shimo sasa. You are like, no. You know, hapa ndio tumekatanishwa sasa. There, you draw the line there. You never see her, be it in a casket, be it walking, be it nothing. Gone forever. That was the most painful thing even for my father, to see my mother being lowered down the grave. And his grandchildren, most of them even collapsed. You are like, no. Ameenda kabisa sasa. Then they come kumwaga mchanga. You're like, kwa nini? And some point even the younger ones would say, kwa nini wanafunika shoshu kwa ndani? You know, they don't understand. So after that, now it's when mnaachwa sasa, mjipange. You're now like they are gone.
And people give you promises, you'll be coming to
like we'll coming to see you. Wewe. Usijidanganye. Mtu mwenye anakuja kwenye ako na sababu nyingine, si kukuona nyinyi mmekufiwa. Ako na reasons zake za kuvisit.
Wow.
People disappeared one by one. Tulikuwa tumejaa kwetu, is a 5-bedroom house, mpaka watu wanalala kwa balcony. But after 3 days, you wonder where people had gone. So that's the time it hits now home. Tuna mama.
Wow.
We have to deal with it. So we begin now encouraging it. And something that helped us, it was my mom died in 2019, November, then came COVID, 2020. So everybody locked in. Tulika home, yani tulipendana, mapenzi kaongezeka. Sisi wote tuko mahali pamoja. Like my brother can't travel back. We are all together. We stayed home. I think for the longest I've seen people stay in a matanga. Almost 3 months. Wow. We do church services, we pray.
At home?
We even dress up and put on our heels, carry our bag, na tunaenda sitting room service. So, hiyo kukaa pamoja ilitufanya tukasahau, like we could even make jokes. Sai mama angekuwa hapa, angekuwa ametuambia hivi. Like we even started making jokes of how we miss her, being harsh on us. There are memories you wish she could come back and do. Yeah. So we stayed, and then hiyo kukaa pamoja wakati wa COVID ikatusaidia sana. So when people started going out to their homes, at least you find yourself more relief. But it never goes away.
Wow.
It never goes away, because it's after I didn't come to church for close to 4 months. So when we started going back to churches, I came one Sunday and I saw someone with a dress. And I was like, hey, what? You dress in a kakama ya mama angu.
Oh dear.
You go back to zero. So grieving. Yeah. And that's why you see I'm from a divorce grieving to a mother's grieving. But before pone hii, una grieve hii. When this happens, you go back to this one. So you start zero. Zero divorce grieving, zero mom's grieving. So it's like you are walking with grieving on here and the other one on the other side. So, yeah.
Kathy, if people don't get an opportunity to grieve properly, what are the consequences?
If we don't grieve properly and if we miss all these stages, then this way I say that some people will get illnesses. Yes, because depression is one thing that will hit you, because you're working with these emotions. You're supposed to be crying, but you're not crying. You're faking the smile, but inside you're hurting. You're supposed to be angry over everyone and over everything, but you're just faking the smile out. So it is a temporal good feeling that you're trying to create for yourself, but eventually it will strike
Catch up with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is where you find somebody, you hear people say she has enjoyed good health until she lost the mother.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you hear somebody went to depression, others got diabetes, others, something autoimmune disease just cropped up from nowhere because we want to just bottle these emotions. And people are emotional beings. So the more we suppress our emotions, the more problematic it is for all of us.
Okay.
And it comes the package of problems, either illnesses or even the way we relate with people. Your interpersonal relationship and the way you work with people, the way you talk, it is a problem in as much as we don't express our emotions the best how we are supposed to.
Wow.
So all these stages, and whatever Becky is saying that maybe 5 years down the line, she will still see a woman with a dress similar to the mother's, and she goes back. And that's why from the beginning we say that our grieving process is different. Catherine might move on very fast. Maybe I lost somebody who is close to me, and I'm able to move very fast because we're also different. Yeah. And Becky will take years and years too.
But just because you moved fast doesn't mean that you didn't love the person?
No, not necessarily. In fact, we grieve because we love. That is, I echo the words of Becky at one point. You see now, like when you talk about anticipatory grief, what I mentioned earlier.
Yes.
You see, being a caregiver to somebody who is battling a terminal illness, maybe with cancer for 3 years, already your emotions are expressed, and already you anticipate in your mind, this thing will happen. So, you see, already, even if this person dies, your grieving will be very easy because already psychologically was prepared. And it's like you started mourning way before you lost this person. Somebody going to a coma, you're not in touch with this person. Maybe he's in a coma for 4 months.
Oh, you're prepared.
Already you are prepared. And again, the other type of grief, which we call abbreviated grief. From the word abbreviate, it's very brief.
Like that one?
Yes, because already you've given too much of emotions. You've labored so much emotionally, and therefore when it is coming, it takes a shorter period to heal.
Okay.
Because already...
Would this be an abbreviated? They are the mom?
Yeah, the mom is not abbreviated.
Okay.
This one is prolonged because already she's still grieving, even 5 years down the line. And it is very normal. Very normal.
Okay.
But at one time she'll reach to a point of now accepting that. And sometimes I like the way she's saying that when COVID came, the family was now
closely knit.
Blessings in this day because this family needed to be together. And maybe there's one member of the family who got to acceptance during that time when we're together. Because even if mom is gone, at least as a family, we are still together. So matters of grief, very complicated. And I say that it is an individual journey. I cannot compare myself with Becky. Maybe one of the siblings had already moved on, she can tell us. And they don't go through what she's going through. And again, the other problem is when you have cumulative grief. You are divorced, you've lost your child, somebody has, all these things. It's again another complication. How do you handle all these things?
Wow.
So we need to differentiate what kind of grief am I going through. And then again, am I going through the process of grief and healing as an individual?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Becky, did you all go through the same process as siblings?
Okay. Some of them, like when you look at them, you would feel like they are talking, they are laughing, they are doing things, and you feel like they've moved on, but you don't know what is happening on the inside of them. But from outside, you feel like who has gone back to Australia, of which they have to go because they have to go and work. But for you, who was at home, you are feeling like hiyo kwenda yao hapana, so angekaka. And then your sisters go back to their husband houses, your brothers go back to work, and you feel like since you are the one who is home, you feel more of the weight because you feel like ameenda, and they take maybe 2 to 3 days now calling, and then with the time a week, and then with the time ni WhatsApp hi. The communication of how you are doing lessons with as time goes by, and you would feel like, am I the one who is stuck? Actually, for me, most people at some point even thought like, kwani mimi anafurahianga kushinda akipost mamake, because me I could post my mom. You are a witness, you will see my social media. I will post my mom most of the time. When it comes to Mother's Day, it's the worst. Women's Day, you have all those emotions during those particular seasons of time, so people would feel like I'm taking long, according to them, because nobody has a time limit of how long you should mourn. So people would think like, we are prolonged sana. But having stayed with mom at home for, after my divorce, for close to, by the time she was passing, it was 8 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
And again, maybe what you've forgotten, Erick, to mention, we grieve also on basis on who is the person. Who is the person to me?
Yes. Who is it to
Becky was with the mom for the longest time.
Yes.
Comparing with the other siblings. And again, who is this person to me? This is a mom. The way you mourn your mom is different from the way you mourn your uncle.
No, that's true.
So it's different. True. So this is something that also we need to understand, that who was this person? Even as I go through the grieving process, who was this person to me?
Wow.
And that's why we also tell the public, matters to do with the nuclear family. Don't come with all these things telling people God will give you a better mom, God will give you a better husband. We need them now. So telling us of the future, that one we don't care, but we need them now. And that's why we need to be very careful, even as we go to, to mourn with our friends. I would rather you just be there and silent. Let your presence do the talking. Instead of that talking and saying, causing more harm than any good.
Just be there.
Just be there. It is just enough.
Wow.
Instead of just talking and talking, quoting Bible verses, we don't need them that moment. Yes, we need them to some extent, but they don't dawn in our mind as they will dawn some other time. But this particular moment, if you can just be there and just help us with running errands here and there, it is just enough. If I need to talk, just listen. It is just enough.
Okay. Wow. Becky, fast forward to the late Bishop Njehia, your husband.
Now after we buried my mom and things settled, my dad remarried to a very beautiful mother we have.
Wow, amazing.
So at least that part of the feeling the heaviness of that one tukapumzika kidogo. Now
there's a mom.
There's a mom
who can take care of
there's
dad.
A mom you can call, so after that now I had to move out
from
now.
home.
Yes, because now I was there like taking care of my father, and namepata mtu wa ku take care of him. So I moved out and went to start afresh again. Now you see, from this grief, every time it's like you're moving to start afresh. So I start my life afresh, and I was doing very well. Exactly 1 year after my dad remarried, that's when I met Bishop. Bishop Stephen Njehia. He was Bishop Emeritus of ACK. So I meet Bishop in very, I don't know how to put it. It's not a normal meeting like the way you'd like in traffic jam. You are there, you are stuck in traffic, and then you hear stories. I dropped my book, someone picked it for me. It's not that kind of a meeting. So I meet Bishop in 11th of April 2022. On a Thursday. So I meet Bishop, and we began knowing each other. Then we courted for 1 year. Yeah, we courted after.
Were you introduced by a friend, or you just met as strangers?
Actually, it's very funny because I had a friend of my mother who I buy.
Your late mom.
Yes, I buy at her shop, and she was my mother's friend, and then she always jokes, and then she stole me from my mother. I became her friend. So at one time she was like, "No, this grieving has to stop. Your mother is not coming back. You have to move on with your life and start afresh. You need to talk to someone who is not your relative, who is not from your church, who doesn't know you completely, never heard of you. You are being introduced. You need to get counseling." So the friend of mine and my mom tells me, I have a neighbor who is a bishop, and he's a counselor.
Glory.
So I would want you to talk. I would want you to talk to him.
Emeritus.
Yes, you talk to him and see whether you are going to get help. So I'm like, okay. I'll talk to him. Then 3 months passes by. I don't talk to him. I'm like, I'm talking to him. How? And then coming from hizi kanisa za kiroho moto unanituma kwa mtu
Veritas.
I'm like, you're not serious. Then after some time, she calls me and tells me, guess what? We had a dinner for business people in Sarova. And I met the bishop and I told him about you. So he's going to give you a call. So me, I have the number. I've stayed with the number for some months.
But you're not calling.
For what? And then I'm like, wait, why would I go talk to a stranger, you know? And like, why would she think I want to talk to him? So they talk and then ile wakati mafuta ilikuwa imepotea.
Oh, I remember those.
The time there was no fuel. So we were looking everywhere. And then he calls me, hello.
The bishop now called you?
Yes. My name is so and so. I was given your number by nini. Tell me about yourself. What is the problem? Because alikuwa amembrief. The friend had briefed bishop. I need you to talk to her, tell her to let go and accept her mother died. Her father has remarried and she has to move on. So I meet bishop and he calls me and tells me I'm coming to Barnabas to get fuel. So can I meet you? And then I'm like, wait. I thought about it. Nenda kupitana na stranger, why? And then I'm like, anyway, what will I lose? Neza pata hata mafuta, neza kuwa na mafuta extra Becky ndio huyo went. So we went up a Shell, I found him, he's like, let me take the fuel, and then he like takes one mtungi and he's like, hii ni yako.
Wow, what a gentleman.
And I'm like, where? Emeritus, you're coming too fast. So then he's like, let me go and drop the mafuta kwa gari yake ingine, kwa hiyo mafuta iko na mafuta, and then I meet you tomorrow. So I'm like, okay, sawa. We meet tomorrow at some place somewhere. So and I always go fast. When I'm meeting a stranger, natakanga niende wa kwanza.
You study the atmosphere.
Nikae nifikirie nikuone ukikuja nifikirie kama nitachange mind yangu nichomoke. So I sat there and he came and I was like, why am I even meeting him? And looking at him, he's so quiet and very gentle. Unashindwa sasa huyu ni mimi nitamcancel ama atani cancel. So I'm like, let me give him a chance. So he comes with a book, his book. He's like, I'm going to buy lunch on condition you buy my book.
Okay.
So saizo kwa mfuko niko na dhao. Najiambia kitabu ikipita dhao, lunch imenipotea. So I'm like, okay, sawa. I'll buy the book. How much? 1,000. I give him the 1,000. Then he tells me, go read the book. And then there's another one. He had told me he's going to bring the following day. So he brought the book. I went home. Then that day when I went home, he's like, ulifika vizuri nini? Hiyo concern. Nikasema we, okay. So after some 4 days he calls me, have you read the books? Books kuread nilikuwa nimeread yake kabisa nikaa niko na mtihani. I don't know why I was reading na passion hivyo. Nikasoma yake nikamaza, but the other one was so big nikaambia I'm still reading it. Then can we meet? Nikasema again. Kwani kuna vitabu mingi aje huyu. So I'm like, okay, sawa. Let's go meet. So we meet and he started talking now about asking me about my mom, the extent of our relationship, and then he found it very I don't know how to call it. Alikuwa anasema it's so hard for a married girl to go back to her mother's house na wasikizane na mama yake. So he was like curious. These were one of yours and your mother is special. Because my mom was like my best friend. Angenunua nguo kama ajani WhatsApp niangalie color, you know. So he was like, I'm very curious. So I told him about our relationship nini. And then he told me about his story. He had just lost his wife. Oh wow. So we started talking. Then you talk day one, you talk day two.
So he was also grieving.
Yeah, he was also grieving. Actually, hata yule rafiki yangu alikuwa amenivite hata kuniambia my neighbor ampoteza wife yake na sasa simjui, nikamwambia sitakuja. So that's when I connected. Ama ni ule bishop alikuwa amefiwa na bibi. So we started talking. So the talking and the meeting became
the friendship grew.
Yeah,
mapenzi ikakuja.
Mapenzi vile ilinigonga mpaka sasa hivi sija recover. I tell people that I don't know how I found myself ndani ya box. But we talked. Bishop was one very learned person, and he was someone who had traveled a lot, and he had so much knowledge, and he was very caring. So a part of me
love that.
loved that caring, because my father is very caring. So I saw my father in this man. So even when I'm falling heavy, I'm not falling so much because their relationship a man and a woman. I'm like, I like him, he's like my father, he's talking nice, he's caring. And all of a sudden kuna mse sasa ako concerned, umelala aje, umeamka aje. So we ended up dating for 1 year. And then a year later we got married. Yes.
A wonderful wedding.
Yes, a very wonderful wedding. We did a beautiful private wedding in Naivasha with a few of my friends. You were one of my friends that I invited and you came. So after the wedding, we stayed and we were okay. Kabisa okay, we were doing fine. Then a year later. On our wedding anniversary.
It was on the wedding anniversary?
Yes.
Wow.
He became sick. Actually, not ile sick ya kwenda hospitali. I started noticing his breathing was not very good, so I could tell him twende hospitali, ananiambia niko sawa. So you know watu wa imani, niko sawa tuombe. Na tena ni don't forget ni mwanaume amejikaza. So I was like, after 2 weeks I was like, wait, I tricked him to go visit his sister. Kwa reserve tukaenda. So we went with the sister in the kitchen, nikamwambia I want you to listen to breathing ya bishop vile iko uniambie. Akaniambia ni mbaya, na akamuita. Akamwambia are you sick? Umekuwa na homa? Hapana, kai hivyo. Nini. Sasa sisi kama vile Keta amesema madaktari wa Kenya wenye wakwenda shule, tukaanza enda msugue tu itapona. Enda mpe maji moto, and that's what I did actually, because it makes sense at that time. So after I think 3 weeks nikaona he's now having pains. Daktari yetu haifanyi kazi.
Ni daktari hana kazi.
And then I could tell him
my wife alinichemshia vitunguu. Nilikula vitunguu.
You know at some point they work.
And then you know when you're sick you just eat
anything. You are like chemsha mbao sawa, kunywa maji.
Baka kuna time akasema na hauulizi ni nini. I just wanted to get better.
Yes, you are like mimi nataka tu kuacha kusikia uchungu. So bishop nikaona breathing yake inaenda ikichange, and now the breathing ikaanza kuwa na pain. You know, before it was just wheezing, like unaona vile mtu ako asthmatic ana wheeze, but there's no pain. Now he started having pain. Angekaa chini anasikia hivyo, my son anasema dad ni nini? Then my daughter was like wait, nimeona dad akivomit. And he vomited and told my children not to tell me. So my daughter ni nani akakuja akasema dada amevomit na amesema nisikuambia amevomit. So nawecheza kiwe. So me I go and ask him, umevomit?
Ndio kucheza kiwewe.
Kiwewe ni inaweza kwa anyway. He was like yeah, kidogo tu lakini niko sawa. I was like no wait. So when it persisted, I said I have to call someone. So I called my dad. Nikamwambia bishop ni kama askipo anataka kwenda hospitali. So my mom and dad encouraged me, mwambie aende hospitali tukutane. So you see, mwambie akuje tukutane na yeye hospitali. So like at least I feel like kuna mzee mwenzake hapo anamwambia aende hospitali. So we went to a hospital somewhere. Akapigwa x-ray. Kupigwa x-ray wakaniambia there's something we are seeing which is not very clear, we need to get more pictures. So they sent us to scan lab. That's where my parents came. We stayed there with my mom and dad for hours waiting for him afanywe hiyo CT scan. Then we get the results. My dad na my mom went. So nikabaki na yeye na nikapata results, tukarudisha hospitali. Tukirudisha hospitali nikaambiwa huyu wendi na yeye nyumbani. Ni mgonjwa, lazima admitiwe. So mimi nikafikiria tu maybe ni pneumonia or something ako nayo. So by that time I've already communicated to one of his sons, because he had 2 sons from the previous marriage. So I called one of them, na nephew yake ambaye alikuwa anamconsider son yake alikuwa ananiambia hata akiwa tu anything you want to talk to so and so. So I call them, I tell them the situation, they come, and then the doctor said something serious. He had water in his lungs. Inafaa kutolewa na lazima atolewe immediately. So ni kwanza kutafuta vile atatolewa. And then ikasemekana hiyo hospitali hatatolewa huko, we take him to another hospital, which we did, and the procedure was done and he looked okay. And now I'm like, wacha tupumzike. So we go back home. when you go back home after a week, nikaona sasa amechange. You know, you unajua bibi yako na bwanako. And Bishop was a very jovial man. So nikaona hata ile joy ni kama imereduce. Hana, and then he was very active. Alikuwa anaendanga walk with his friends, so I told him, do you feel like you can go for the walk? And anasema nasikia niko weak. Then I noticed he's not eating food, unaweza weka hapa take time kukula. So I was like, maybe something else is wrong. So I consulted some people, nikawapigia from the diocese. One of the vicar came, nikamwambia, I need you to watch him. He's acting, uniambie. Ndio akaniambia hayuko poa, we need to take him to hospital. So it's like we need to take him to Nairobi. So ni ambulance ianze kutafutwa. By that time he's deteriorating with every hour. Wow. Like unaangalia, and between now hapo kwenda Nairobi and when we came from hospital, kuna watu walikuja kumuona, wengine wanasema ako sawa, wengine wananiambia hayuko sawa, so uko tu hapo, and then his health went down during that time. We even at some point took him to Jalalam, akafanyiwe scan zingine for them to be sure and everything. So when we decided to go to Nairobi, tuliona ni kama sasa tumeshindwa to find out what is going on, because kama ni maji ametolewa, amepewa dawa, he is on medication and he's not even getting better. So we get an ambulance to Kenya, Nairobi. Ambulance ride is the worst. Mpaka saizi nikisikia ambulance kilia mahali, hata kama nina drive me park, like it hits differently nowadays. So tuko kwa ambulance, mimi nimekaa mbele, nurses wakaniambia usikae na nyuma, kaa mbele, and one of his son and the nephew akachukua one of our cars wakatufuata nyuma. Since it's an ambulance, si tulifika within 2 hours tulikuwa Nairobi. And it was bad because there was heavy rains and traffic. So when we reached there, tukaambiwa mali kulikuwa na maji, ni kama kumekuwa na pus. There's an infection of some kind. So and then after that it was a series of one thing after the other, after the other. Some details I wouldn't want to talk about. Then after a week, that's when now the doctor said now he's become even anemic. At one point I even posted on Facebook, I need blood. People came generously. Actually walinipigia wakaniambia ulituachia damu mingi yenye watu walitoa when he had passed away. So I post today we need blood, and he passes away like tomorrow.
So he didn't even use the blood.
He used only, I think he used kidogo sana. But most of the blood was because people came in the night, in the morning before going to work. And hiyo period yote tukiwa Nairobi, it's a series of emotions. You are now fearing, what if he dies? And the other hand, you are like, he can't die. He wasn't that sick. He's never been that sick. He doesn't look at like he's dying. You know, you have emotions. But unfortunately, he passed away.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, he passed away after 1 year of marriage. And he actually passed away on 2nd, which was on a Thursday. And I met him on a Thursday.
Wow.
And our wedding we did on a Thursday, and actually buried him on a Thursday. So Thursday to me are a special day. So he passes away, and now you are like back to
again
to zero. You now take all the grieving of the divorce, my mother's grieving, and then I bring it now here. I'm like, it's too much. I can't even handle. I'm confused completely. Here is a man who was so healthy. A month ago, he is a man you did a wedding, celebrated. We even did a dinner for a wedding anniversary. He was okay, only for a few days for him to get sick. So you are just there now, like now. Sasa hii nitagrieve aje, and it's not something you plan for. When you get married, you always like, we are here forever. And your forever might be 1 year, like mine. Your forever, I had a friend who lost her husband after 6 months, and there are people who have stayed for 40 years. 50 years.
They're still going.
60 years, they're still going. Yeah. And you are now wondering, why is your own case different? That's when confusion came in. Like, ataka God amekosa mtu mwingine wa kupea vitu. You understand? Kwani hana watu wengine anaweza pitisha? People now start telling me you're the strongest, ndio unapitishiwa hii. All those kind of things that you would rather not say to people who are grieving. Like, God knew why. Maybe the marriage was not for me, was for him to die a happy man, and I'm like, after he dies, what happens to me? You know, all those kind of things people tell people that don't make sense. Even up to 10 months later, but bado sijaelewa what happened.
You have not comprehended everything.
Yeah, I'm still like there, not even thinking he's dead.
Wow, Kathy, what are you thinking from that story?
Well, I can only recommend Becky as a woman of resilience. You know, she's so much self-aware, and especially being capable of, you know, that self-talk. This is too much to bear. How do I start from this? You know, somehow, as we talk to ourselves, we only find a way.
Yeah.
We always find a way. And so I'm seeing a strong woman, and in as much as you don't use such words, but for sure, Becky is a strong woman, because there's some of us will go through those episodes in these durations of time, and we are completely different people. So to me, Becky, I see a woman who is so much self-aware that this is my strength. In as much as I'm going through this, I can build on this.
Wow.
And again, coming from a point that when I went through divorce, I still went back to my parents and I was able to stand again.
Yeah.
When I lost my mother, I got married for this short period and I was able to stand again on my feet. So even at this time that it's 1 year down the line, Becky is still capable of standing again on her feet. So it is not all lost.
It's not all lost.
It's not all lost.
All right. For the sake of time, allow me to ask this as we conclude. When you lost your husband, you got a very wonderful support system. Now, when you lost your husband, did you get a support system?
Or when I lost my mom.
When you lost your mom, you got a very good support system. Now, when you lost your husband, was the support system available?
When I lost my husband, it was, I wouldn't say, from my family, they still supported me from my own side of the family. I wouldn't say the same of his family. But again, as Kate has said, you come to realize that in life, you come to a place you realize it's only me. If I don't encourage myself, if I should not expect so much from people. Because sometimes we expect so much, and that's why our expectations are cut off and you feel very pained. And mostly when you are grieving, most of the pain that you feel is from expectations.
From other people.
Yes, you expect so much from them and you don't get it. So it's not even the death that is paining you, it's their expectations.
They are not feeling it.
Yes, you know. And for me it was very hard because at some point I lost a lot of friends. And you get to hear so many talks sometimes, and you really wonder, would you want yourself to people to talk the way you are talking about someone? At some point someone told me, hey, aolewe a divorce, arudi akuja olewe bwana akufe, huyu ako na shida, and you are looking at them like, I forgive you because it's not you who is going through it. And my father at one point, and my mom has really supported me during my husband's demise, because she was always telling me, I found a strong girl. I knew you are very strong. Ananiambia achana watu wengine wote, wewe mwenyewe you are a strong girl and you've been taught well. Nikakaa chini nikajembea yenyewe, who would survive a divorce? Who would survive a mother's death? And now who would survive a husband's death? Na siku admitiwa, siku gonjeka. I didn't end up like walking in the street like a mad woman. People go through a lot of emotions that make them do a lot of things. But now the support I want to emphasize was for my family.
Okay, wow. That's
my
amazing. Side
of the family, and my dad's side of the church really encouraged me, called me. Actually, they visited me for almost a month. My sister who is married stayed with me for 2 months.
Wow.
My nephew and my niece, they stayed with me for 7 months.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So at least I could feel like, hata kama kuna side na feel ni kama I didn't get enough support, I have the support.
It's well compensated.
And then again, Unajua every time people tell you are a strong person, unakanga unajisikia enyewe mimi ni strong, nikakuja nikajiambia enyewe mimi ni strong. Nikaanza kujiambia you have to accept this has happened for your children.
So that self-talk is very important.
Yes, very important.
Okay.
And again, we always draw our strength from the feedbacks we get.
Yes.
If somebody tells you you're strong, then you grow with that. But if somebody tells you, wacha kujifanya, you're weak. We know, we feed from what we hear. So if somebody tells you you're strong, then run with that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and again, for me, I think the memories of Bishop, there were so many beautiful things that happened in that, because to the outside world, actually, something I should say, people think I knew Bishop for
a long time.
Well, no, for one year. But for me, I knew him for 2 years. It was 2 years.
Yeah.
I built up memories. I had good times with him. So I could draw from those good moments.
Wow.
And actually, when he was very sick one day, he called me, held my hand and told me, thank you for choosing me.
Oh.
Thank you for everything you've done for me. So for me, that one, people might talk anything outside there. People might think whatever they want to think. But at the back of my mind, I have someone who loved me. And he loved me genuinely. That one I can tell you for free. Bishop loved me genuinely. Despite our age difference, let me say that. People would think like, maybe juu alikuwa mzee kunishinda kidogo mapenzi gani, but Bishop was so loving and caring. And for my children, I think they also knew Bishop loved me, so they stepped in.
Oh, to fill the gap.
They like all of a sudden wakakuwa ni kama wameheal, and then like, mom, we have to do this. Okay. And so far God has helped me. And I thank God. It takes time, but one day.
A day at a time.
Yes.
Wow. That's all we had time for, folks. But I'd like Becky to, what would you tell someone who is grieving? Look at that camera and talk to someone who is grieving. This is a camera. And talk to someone who is grieving.
Okay, I would talk to someone who has lost either a parent or a husband or a child, that it's okay to have the emotions you have. It's okay to feel whatever you are feeling. And you should not let people dictate you on how you are going to mourn your loved one. Because we grieve, and I repeat again, we grieve so much with pain because we love. If there was no love, there should be no pain or grieving. So I would like to encourage them, be your own encourager first, and then choose the people that are on your side and run with them, and put a blockage on your ears from this side and this side. Focus on moving on and healing, because actually your loved one would want you to heal and move on. They will be happy when they see you moving on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Becky. And our psychologist, Kathy, what do you tell people who are grieving from a psychological point of view? What is your parting shot? That is your camera.
Well, thank you, viewers. And my parting shot is that let us not bottle emotions. You go to a burial, you feel like crying, just cry. You feel like screaming, just vent out. Whichever way you feel it's best for you. And again, to the larger community, as you go to mourn with the families that have lost their loved ones, let us be very careful with the words that you're using, especially in comforting people. Understand that even being there, seated with that family, your presence is just enough. No more talks, and no more words that will cause more harm than any good. Thank you, Erick.
Wow. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. It's quite a privilege to have that story from you. Thank you so much, Kathy, for sparing your time. I know you're busy. It has taken longer than we were expecting, but thank you so much for your wealth and knowledge. Folks, that's all we had time for. Special thanks to Jarika Hotel for giving us a space where we can be able to broadcast this and bring it to your home at your own comfort. Special thanks to my production crew. Thank you so much for making this amazing work beautiful, and to God Almighty for giving us an opportunity to be able to bring a little impact into your life. Please don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. Until next time, let's keep walking by faith.